floor. Tell me what's going on for you and how could I help?
Well, I don't know if you have a solution for anxiety.
Sure, we could certainly talk about that.
So I'm studying for the LSAT Flex, and I know I was in your last Q&A, and I did express that I am excited about it, and I do feel that way. I really am looking forward to taking it at home because I do feel that I get test anxiety, and it does play a major role in my scoring. So I am happy about that, but I also am now I'm just a little bit nervous because I know that the questions count more because there's less. So I find myself kind of just staying at the same scoring and kind of not jumping over that hurdle just to get a couple points higher. So full disclosure, I'm scoring now like a 151, 152. My initial goal was like a 155, 157. I'm still going to take it, even though I haven't reached that score yet, because I still feel that I can get into the schools of my choice and receive some scholarship money. But I don't know what I can do to just get over that hurdle,
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, you're right that each question does matter more on the flex. At the same time, endurance is less of a factor. So with the old 5-section exam, people were often beat by section 4, section 5, and performance could drop a little bit. So that's not going to be a concern for you with the flex with only 3 sections. But as you said, every question matters more. So one thing you could do, and we'll talk tactical and then also more general anxiety, what you could do, but tactical, I would say warm up before you actually start the LSAT Flex that counts. Maybe do a couple of questions right before you load up the LSAT Flex program on ProctorU. So a game, a passage, a few logical reasoning questions, just so that the first questions you're doing on test day aren't the ones that matter.
Got it. That's a great idea. Because I do find myself needing the first couple questions sometimes to just get into the groove a little bit,
Yeah, exactly. So do those on your own before you hit start.
Okay.
Another thing is to remember that while the LSAT as a whole is incredibly important, no one particular test day will make or break you. You can retake. Law schools don't average multiple LSAT scores. They only take the highest. And there's an opportunity to take the LSAT nearly every month. Maybe flex, maybe in person, we'll see what happens as time goes on, but there are many, many opportunities. And if you're aiming for May, the May LSAT Flex, you still got at least 3-4 months until applications even open. So you could still apply at the beginning of the cycle, whether you take it in June, July, or August.
Right. Okay. I guess I also wanted to talk about reading comprehension. That is that's the section that I struggle with the most. So I find myself really good at games. I usually score 18 out of 23 on that section. And I'm pretty good in logical reasoning, but every section of reading comp, I struggle. And I've had my good days where I'll get like 17 right. But then it's always averaging back down to 13 or 14. And I'm trying to get that number up. And I did a practice exam yesterday, and I saw something you posted online to go to the global questions first. That made a difference in one passage, I will say. It was so much easier to flow through instead of stopping, checking one section, and then going back to a global question. So I did like that, but I think my issue is just kind of, I guess, remembering everything I read, if that makes sense. I find myself trying to read faster. And again, I've gotten better, but I don't know what I can do to take it to the next level.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm glad the technique with the question approach order helped, because that is a big one. Another thing I would talk about is note-taking. What are you doing in terms of note-taking, if at all?
Well, I write down each paragraph, like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I try to write a little note just so I remember, like if paragraph 2 was explaining what the topic is, paragraph 3 was an example of what they're talking about in paragraph 2, kind of like little notes like that, but nothing crazy because I don't want to take too much time writing stuff down.
Good. Yeah, that feels right to me. Minimal is the best approach on that. You said trying to remember everything? Yeah.
Yeah. In a matter of like 3-4 minutes.
Yeah. Are you taking 3-4 minutes on the initial read?
Yeah, just about. Sometimes
maybe
5 because I'll go back.
Okay. Yeah. I would say maybe try reducing that a little bit. Because if you're taking 4 or 5 minutes, that's giving you significantly less than 1 minute per question.
Right.
So maybe cap it at 3, maybe 3.5 on a tough one. and then trust that you'll be able to go back to the passage for the details when you need them.
Okay. And then I saw that someone had posted under one of your Instagram posts that I didn't even know this, but that you can do Control F and look at, like, find whatever it is that they're talking about in a question. Are we allowed to do that on test day?
That's a great question. I saw that comment as well, and I've reached out to ProctorU, and I'm waiting to hear back from them about that, as well as your question on the laptop tablet,
Oh,
2-in-1. Of course, I'm waiting to hear from them on that. I've got an open dialogue with them as I'm trying to figure out all these details, because I get so many questions from students also, and they've never administered an LSAT Flex before, so their Q&As don't really cover all the details.
Right. Okay, so I guess we could talk about timing for logical reasoning.
We could. I actually wanted to make sure, I want to make sure we don't miss your initial question on anxiety. There is something else I wanted to bring up on that as well, which was related to mindfulness, meditation, focus training. Have you ever, even prayer, have you ever done anything like that?
Oh, yes, I pray constantly, very religious. So I'm always doing that, and that always seems to help me. But then in the middle of the section, I'll be like 12, 13 minutes in, and I'm like, like I'm behind on questions. What do I do? And then I start getting nervous. You know, I have to tell myself, like, calm down and just focus and read. But I'm a very anxious person. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. You've got, at least for LSAT Flex, you've got about a month remaining at this point in time, as we speak, in mid to late April. And I would be thinking about the benefits that you gain from prayer and mindfulness and contemplation in terms of mental clarity and calming the mind. See what you can do to bring that into your, as much of a daily routine as possible, even just a few minutes, and maybe put an LSAT spin on it a little bit as well. So just in terms of focusing on the task at hand in the moment, rather if your mind is wandering, the process of bringing it back to whatever your focus or your intention is.
Yeah, someone also told me that I should consider drinking tea before the exam. I'm actually a tea drinker anyway. Nice. But I think they said chamomile. I'm not really into chamomile. I like the sweet flavored teas. So I don't know. Do you recommend that?
Yeah, chamomile definitely has demonstrated benefits for calming. And so I would try that out, but don't drink a tea you don't like. I think just in general, a hot beverage, assuming it's not insanely caffeinated, could be a good way to calm yourself down.
Yeah, I actually I don't even drink caffeine at all. Like, all my teas are decaffeinated. People ask how I operate in the morning. I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm high off of life, because I'll drink like a hot chocolate or a tea.
Nice.
No coffee, no soda, nothing like that. So I guess the best thing to do would be then during my practice exams, take tea before, so I get used to it, because I don't want to try anything like just the day of.
Exactly. So pick your favorite herbal tea and drink that consistently every time that you study or every time that you do a practice test. You'll have that association to bring something else familiar into the actual test day experience.
Okay. And I remember I mentioned to you that I did take your 3-month study course, which I loved, because I am the type of person that I like syllabus, I like accountability. I need to know what I have planned for that day, or it's very easy for my day to just go by and I'm like, what happened? So I guess I kind of have 2 questions on this topic. I wanted to talk about what you think of my map out for my study schedule now throughout the week, and if I should invest in one of your monthly study plans, because we have about 4 weeks till the exam. I don't know if I should do that, because LSAT Flex is a little different, or if I should just tell you what I have planned and maybe you can help me on that, whatever you think is best.
Yeah, sure. Share whatever you like, and we can talk about the course too.
Okay. So Tuesdays and Thursdays I work from home. I just work 2 days a week. So those days I don't usually study those days, because at that point, by the end of the day, I'm drained anyway, and I know my body, and it's just like not a good combination. So that gives me Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So what I started doing was taking Thursdays and Sundays for practice exams. So that gives me Friday for review and additional prep, Saturday for prep, Sunday for exam, Monday for review, some prep, work Tuesday, Wednesday, and the cycle continues.
Awesome. I love it. And I love the details of what you've done, but I also love the fact that there simply is that level of detail. To some extent, the specifics don't even matter that much, whether you do a practice test on Friday or Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever. But the idea that there's a mix of taking exams and reviewing them, some days are heavier, some days are lighter. All of that sounds great to me.
Okay, awesome. And then the days that I do prep, I saw someone posted on your page on Facebook that they're taking 3 hours a day, 1 hour for reading comp, 1 hour for logic games, and 1 hour for logical reasoning. I still find myself, because I finished your study guide, I don't know if that's the right approach. Like, again, I like structure. I like to know what I should be doing. So I don't know if you think that's a good approach.
Well, I think the approach that you laid out already earlier
Hmm.
works better for you, most likely. In fact, because you've already worked through my general study plans, you've already got the foundation, and you're now at that later stage of the study plan where it's more about doing timed exams and reviewing them.
Okay. So then I think that a good approach for me is doing like the layout that I told you, but like the days that I don't have a practice exam, maybe do a couple of time sections. So I can obviously stay in the groove of how the test goes, and don't get like too off track, and stay on track with timing.
Yeah, and I think that's actually easier for you now as well with the LSAT Flex because the timed exams are not as long. You're not doing 5 sections, you're doing 3. I
Thank
don't
God.
typically like, yeah, exactly. It's much more pleasant experience for most people, I would
Yes.
think. So if you're doing a timed exam Tuesday and then with 3 sections, then you're reviewing it on Wednesday and doing a single section also, that's fine. I don't think that you necessarily need to do a timed section every day, but if you have the time in your schedule and you're not going to burn out as a result of it, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Okay. And when I was taking my practice exam yesterday, there was a group of people outside just kind of having their own little party.
Outside your
uh,
house?
yeah. And I guess someone called the cops because they weren't supposed to. They were like hugging and dancing, and
Wow.
like, we're supposed to be in quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was actually outside my sister's apartment. So we're all quarantined at my mom's house. And then I go to my sister's apartment to study because it's peace and quiet. And then I come back. So I'm just going back and forth to two places. And I guess it was so bad that I had to even pause the exam a couple times. And I know I can't do that test day. So do you know if that happens test day? Can I say something to the proctor? Like, I need a minute, or I don't know if that's a stretch, but it was
Yeah, of
really
course.
bad.
I would imagine that if that happened on your test day, you would probably end up you'd have to either try to forge ahead ignoring it, which obviously could impact your performance, or they could just cancel that exam and let you retake it in the future, unfortunately. So
Yeah, I don't want
I would aim to schedule your LSAT Flex for a time that you expect there to be no
nobody.
distractions. And so if people aren't partying at 10 in the morning, take it at 10 in the morning. If they're going to be partying at 8 p.m. or later, don't schedule it for in the evening.
Yeah, I was thinking for, hopefully, if it's available, late morning, like, or early afternoon, like 12:30, kind of what it was supposed to be anyway for
Yeah,
my mark exam. So I figured hopefully people are not, I don't know. I just hope nobody's
of
outside.
course. No, I hope not as well. I suspect that they will have a morning time, an afternoon time, and maybe, fingers crossed, an evening time also, just to give people more options. And as long as they have the proctors available, I don't see why they couldn't do that. Now,
Right,
to
right.
circle back to the question about the course in the final month, if you're looking for that level of support, that's certainly an option for you. And it'll give you the opportunity to focus on your foundation, any weak areas you have, but also benefit from my live classes and Q&As and group coaching program as well. And so all of that is available to you. And I've been doing nothing but creating material around the LSAT Flex since it was announced. And so I've added the appropriate updates throughout the course. Obviously, the content of the exam has not changed, just the format in which it's delivered. But just as I updated my course for when it went from paper to digital, I'm also updating it for the LSAT Flex also. And we'll also be co-creating it through the classes and through the group coaching too.
Nice. Okay, so then maybe I should do that just so I have accountability. And I think it's just, even though I laid it out for you, I still want to know that what I'm doing, it's right, or it makes sense. I don't want to do prep that won't benefit me, or it's just a waste of time, or it doesn't go with the help that I need. That's always been my issue with self-studying. I've taken prep courses, and then there's homework and stuff, but once the course is over and I'm still studying, I'm like, what do I do? So for a while before I found you, I was just, okay, today I'm going to do some games, and tomorrow I'll do reading comp, and I'll do a mix of logical reasoning questions with that, and I guess that's enough. I don't know what's really appropriate. So I think I will consider that for the structure.
Awesome. Great. Well, if it's the right move for you, of course, I'll be glad to help. Now, before we sign off, I want to know, I want to cover your question that you had on logical reasoning, because you mentioned something there too.
Oh, right, right. Well, I guess just my timing. Yesterday, I got to 21 questions out of 25. I remember the days when I used to get to like 14 when I first started. But now I usually get to I would say about 19. 21 is a good day. I don't know if there's any tips on, without losing my progress, on, I guess, just moving faster without getting the question wrong. I know that's a tough question.
Moving faster without getting the question wrong. Well, one thing to keep in mind is that logical reasoning is in an increasing order of difficulty, right? So the first 10 are easier than the last 10. Mm-hmm. That means on the first 10, don't second guess yourself. Go with your gut. Those typically are as easy as they seem. And if you can move through those pretty quickly, you can build up a time bank to apply to the tougher questions later in the section.
Okay. So you're saying questions 11 all the way to the end are more difficult.
Yeah, it's increasing in average difficulty level along the way. And so on average, question 17 is going to be harder than question number 5.
Got it.
Overall.
Okay.
And it's not a perfect order of difficulty, but generally goes that way.
There was a prep course that I took a while ago. And unfortunately, I heard bad things about it after I took the class. But one thing they said was, go 1 through 10, which I don't do this anymore, but go to questions 1 through 12, then go back from 25 to, I don't know, just work your way backwards, because they're saying the ending questions will be easier. But I just stopped doing it. I don't know why. I didn't feel like it was really doing anything for me. So you don't think that the ending questions are easier?
I don't agree with the approach, because for most people, because to go out of order to that extent and to work backwards is contrary to how we typically like to go about things.
Right.
And I don't think the difference is significant enough to warrant that. I can say, just to be fully accurate in what I think, that the last couple are a little bit easier than 15 through 22. So I would say the order of difficulty goes from 1 to 14, then maybe you'd want to do 23 to 26, then back to 15 to 22. But 23 and 24 could also be difficult. And it gets overly convoluted if you start jumping around to that extent.
Right.
So I just don't think it's worth it for most people.
Okay. Yeah, I felt like this was when it was still paper and pen. It was just flipping and then going back and making sure I didn't miss anything and then bubbling the questions. I wasn't crazy about it.
Yeah, no, I hear that. One thing you could consider is, as you work through that toughest band of questions, about 15 through 22, feel free to flag 3 or 4 to skip them and come back to them at the end. That way, at least you are skipping over some of the toughest ones, like principal application, lengthy parallel questions, really technical or philosophical questions that are overly wordy that you just don't want to deal with in the moment.
Right. Okay. I'm going to try that on my practice exam this week. I'll leave a comment and let you know how it goes.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Please do. It's been nice to have you on Instagram and in the Facebook community as well.
Likewise. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy I found your page.
Definitely, Laura. Before we sign off, what would you say is the biggest impact you got from our call today? The biggest insight?
I think just having someone take the time to hear my concerns. That's always nice. And really taking the time to literally answer every single question. I really do appreciate that. You don't always find that.
Of course. Well, I'm glad to help. Keep in touch and let me know if you need anything as you move forward.
Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.